Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including RWBY, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Andy Potter.
Hey!
Today, Andy and I are discussing the latest episode of RWBY, Vault of the Spring Maiden. Yes, Chapter 12 of Volume 5 of RWBY that aired this morning on Rooster Teeth First. We talk RWBY every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can find us at overlyanimated.com or search for Overly Animated RWBY on iTunes to subscribe there, or on YouTube as well, to not miss any of our future RWBY podcasts. 2 episodes left after this in Volume 5 of RWBY, so make sure to subscribe to not miss any of our coverage of the RWBY finale episodes. Spoilers for Vault of the Spring Maiden. Make sure you've seen this. Rooster Teeth First subscriber or whatever. I don't know. When does this even come out on normal? Is it like a week later? Yeah.
I think it's... I think?
I don't know. So
because I think the other one just popped up on YouTube.
Well, we cover the first airing, so make sure you've seen this. Spoilers for this episode. Andy, what did you think of Vault of the Spring Maiden?
There are some things I liked and some things I hated, and I think that's just every RWBY episode.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, which episode are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, right? I liked that there was less emphasis on Jon than last episode, but he still was. It was that whole last episode was still just for him, and this proves that. I liked the little bit of RWBY we got, her bossing people around and being #angry. I hated.
That's not a hashtag.
Yeah, I know. I hated pretty much everything else in the episode, I think, because Vernal just died is dead. She's dead. People have said that she might not be dead, but she's dead.
We'll talk about it.
And she's dead for no reason. They just designed this character, and she was designed just to die for no reason other than that. And I don't know. People were doing stupid things all episode, and I didn't like it. Like Hazel's mad about stuff that doesn't make sense. Here's the problem with the show. They still have not proved to me that Ozpin is evil. And they keep trying to prove to us as viewers that Ozpin is evil. And he just isn't. I'm just confused, Dylan.
I don't think that's the problem with the show. I think there's bigger fish to fry here.
Yeah. Okay. One of the major problems.
I'm not clear on whether they want us to think Ozpin's evil or not, because the evidence they provided is not strong evidence. Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they really are trying to tell the audience that Ozpin's evil, and that'd be interesting if they did it right, but they have not done it right yet.
Okay. I don't know if that's what they're trying, but overall, what do you think?
Overall, I'm just confused by the show. Like, I don't really think I was excited by the end of this episode. I was just like, oh, okay, Raven's a Maiden now. And I didn't really care.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually did not have that reaction. I was very excited by the end of this episode. I think that this twist at the end with Raven being the Maiden all along, and it not being Vernal, is one of the best things the show's done this season, and I think that it was really fun, a really good twist, really well executed, and by far the best part of this episode. The rest was kind of mediocre, and we'll there are some highlights, there's nothing terrible. I don't really have anything to majorly complain about. Jon Semblance is healing, and that's how Weiss lives. That was level 1. That's what we were expecting last week. We all said that's what was going to happen. So, it was just presented in an unexciting way. That's the biggest problem. Yeah. But there's nothing terrible here. There's nothing really big to complain about, unlike last week. And, I think that the end is actively good. I think this is a really, really good twist. Like, there's very few things in RWBY seasons that I can say are like actively well executed from a narrative perspective. There's a lot of things that are well executed from a visual perspective or storyboarding, but I think this twist was really well done this season.
I think I'm just hung up on Vernal dying. I just don't like Vernal's character. Because she isn't a character. She literally just showed up.
Here's the thing. That's part of the twist. This was a character who we'd been saying all along. We're like, oh my god, this is a stupid character. Why don't you just develop her already? She's a maiden, but we're not saying she's a maiden. This is why are we just bringing this character in just to die? Why is it taking us 8 episodes to explicitly call her the Spring Maiden? And all of that pays off here. All of our discussion from earlier this season, it pays off.
Then how about this, Dylan? Explain to me why this is better. Like, as somebody who isn't progressive, explain to me why this is better than Sienna just dying with no character development at all.
Right. So from like a socially progressive lens,
Yeah.
this is just another female character. So it's different because Sienna was murdered for no reason by Adam, and
Okay.
she is, and Vernal is this is a scene with three women in it,
It
and
is.
I'm not saying it's great that she's just set up to die. I'm not saying that's a great socially progressive thing. I'm not immediately outraged like I was with Sienna Khan. But that's not like that's even that's not something that came to mind for me. Like that, like typically, like socially progressive criticisms, are like come up highly, in my mind for things that happen like this. This is not something I thought of. What I thought of was, wow, look at all of the narrative threads that they've, or the trail that they've left that led to this point this season. Like that was the big highlight for me. Maybe it's just because we're all expecting Vernal to die. We've just been saying it over and over. So, like, obviously Vernal dies or whatever. And this is like, if Vernal's the character that dies, that's best case scenario because we're worried about Weiss dying, worried about Ilya dying. So I'm fine with this. She can be the sacrifice. And her dying is part of the twist. It's like, I'm maybe more willing to forgive it because it's part of narrative, which it does nothing to do with a social lens. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But I want to focus, at least to start, on all the reasons why this was awesomely built up by the show.
Okay.
I want to say, Miles and Karen, what a good job with this. Wow. This was really well done. Let's talk about it. So like I said,
Okay.
this whole time we'd been saying, this is a stupid, pointless character. And if she's important, why don't we give her any backstory? Number one. Okay. The answer is she doesn't matter. she's a decoy. Yeah. So I think that was great. I mean, you still could have given her backstory, but we didn't need to. Number two, why are we so hesitant to call her the Maiden, all the rest of the season? Because it turns out she's not the Maiden. There you go. Done. Solved. Number three, why does she like only use her powers once or something? And why did she hold off on using her powers last episode? It's because she doesn't have powers. And that scene earlier in the season where she does summon the storm, it's really brilliant because it's actually Raven doing it all along. And here's the most cathartic evidence is that this explains Raven's mask. This stupid, dumb edgelord mask that Raven wears is because she needs
stupid mask. I can't get over it.
She needs to hide her eyes because the Maiden powers you with the glowy avatar state eyes. So she wears the mask so she can keep it a secret that she's the one that's activating the Maiden powers. So that's her bait and switch all along. This has been so well said. I mean, even earlier, like you've seen like Crow saying, Raven has spring. Like they never call Vernal spring. And I do think that's just an audience decoy. We looked back and it does seem like Crow does not know that Raven is the Spring Maiden if you look at last season's dialogue. But I just regardless of who knows what as characters, the biggest thing is this really hits from a viewer perspective. I think like this feels really cathartic to me. Out of all the kind of boring stuff we've done with Raven and the Bronwyn tribe and with Vernal the entire season, I think this pays it all off.
Okay, I think I'm a little lower on it than you, obviously, since I was saying, but I do like how it fixes some of the problems it had earlier in the season. It does make the scene where Raven was talking about Cinder's name being stupid kind of funnier.
Yes, that's another thing. Yeah, Raven says Cinder's name is, it's on the nose or something for a maiden?
Yeah.
And it's like, and our response on the podcast was, you have Vernal.
You have Vernal.
But okay, no, that's not true. So her criticism is valid. Yeah.
It was actually pretty funny. It's I don't know. Does this make other episodes better though? Like, because I mean, like this is like viewing it as a season.
Whatever. It makes the season better. I think that's true.
But it still was frustrating from like a week by week thing, not knowing it.
Yeah, that's the danger with twists like this is that this is the third to last episode of the season, so you're doing all this stuff with Raven, which didn't really hit ever, just so you can do this twist at the end. And even though it hits at the end, it doesn't change the fact that we spent months, having to sit through the Raven plot lines that didn't really work at the time. So I think that's true. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm kind of just worried Raven's just gonna die. Like that's what I'm really worried about.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because that's the big question now is so Raven's the Maiden. Maidens always die. Is Vernal died just so okay, briefly, Vernal. So we don't see her kind of die. We see Cinder's grim arm, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
And she's like she stops twitching, like, and then we don't see her face or anything, and Raven says, where's the power? So she's not like explicitly dead. My take on it is that why would Cinder be surprised that there is no power to take if she did not die?
That was my take as well. But I mean, there's also the possibility that she's absorbing powers in a different way. She does have a weird grim arm. Like, this show always throws new stuff at us. But my assumption is just that Vernal was dying, and she was like, "Why didn't I get the power?" Like, I think that's just the surface level.
I guess she's already circumventing the Maiden system because she's trying to absorb the power and not be the last one they saw. Is that true? Like, is she using the traditional Maiden route of trying to just be the last person they saw?
Yeah, I thought that's what she was doing.
But it's possible with her grim arm that she's absorbing it in a different way.
Yeah, like at first when Raven broke out, what I thought was happening was that Vernal died and gave the power to Raven. And like Vernal always was the Spring Maiden. That was my assumption at first. But then obviously it didn't happen. And so I don't know. It feels like Cinder has to have a way of getting the power without having to be the last one they saw, because it just seems so fit.
So I guess that's possibly true that she's using the grim arm to absorb it. In which case Vernal could still be alive, but there's no reason to keep Vernal alive because she's a decoy character all along. She's she's not important.
I am frustrated because she has cool weapons and like a cool design, but she was just nothing.
Yeah. So we're assuming Vernal's dead, and even if she's not, she doesn't matter. Now Raven is the Maiden. We've been complaining about Raven a lot. We've called her bad character. We've called her this character's not working. Which is all true. Does this make Raven's character better that she's the Spring Maiden?
It only makes her character better if Ozpin forced her to be a maiden. And that would explain why she hates Ozpin. But I don't think the show's going to go there or talk to us about that.
Okay, so I think, so what you're referring to is a lot of people are trying to make the connection of Raven's seemingly irrational hatred of Ozpin just because she gave her the choice to have optional bird turning into abilities. So maybe if Ozpin forced Maiden stuff upon her, that would be a legitimate reason to be pissed at Ozpin.
Yeah, that's what I would hope for. Like, because I mean, being a maiden seems like it sucks. Like, it just seems like it's a horrible way to live, to be a maiden and being hunted the rest of your life. And so I could see that being something that she would be really mad at Ozpin for. But again, still, it doesn't fully explain it, because still, being a maiden means you're like one of the strongest people in the world. And it feels like that's something Raven would want. So
if you force someone to be maiden, I see legitimate grievances because you're marked to die.
Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, I think Raven would have chosen to be a maiden if she had the choice. So it's a little interesting from that perspective, I guess.
I don't think that's what's happening here, because I don't think Crow knows that Raven is a maiden, so I believe that this is something that happens after Raven left, or that caused Raven to leave away from everyone else. Like, a lot of people are asking, there's like a few people that have problems with the twist, and their main thing is, how is Raven a maiden? This doesn't make any sense. And the natural response is, she just either killed the previous maiden, or she came upon them dying. And that's the easy reason to have this be a part of the plot. And that would probably have to happen after Raven was with the original Team RWBY.
Yes, clearly she killed. I would not be surprised at all if she killed somebody just to get their maiden powers.
It's not like Raven was the original maiden or something from birth. This was like a past, this is like post Beacon, I assume. Or this is the event that caused her to leave. That's one of those two things.
I think it's closer to the second thing you said, but I would not be surprised if it happened after she left and she just killed her.
So I understand the inclination to try to tie this to Ozpin, but I don't see it at the moment. But we need more information.
I'm just searching for any reason she could hate Ozpin, because I still don't buy it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Ozpin stuff, but I think this makes her a more interesting character, at least, because she has some plot relevance now. She's not, other than being Yang's mom, she's tied to the plot. But will she even live past these past two episodes?
In any other show, I think that no. Yes, that she would live past the season, but I think that they're really, really trigger happy at killing people like this. And I'm skeptical that she'll make it through the end of the season. I'm really skeptical of it.
I think that what Raven being the Maiden does, and you have to look at what relevance does Raven have to the plot of RWBY, to the characters and plot of RWBY, because she kind of seems like an auxiliary character. Her main tie is, like I said, as Yang's mom. That's like the heart of her emotional journey. She's like head of this Bronwyn tribe that doesn't matter. She has the Spring Maiden. Well, she's the Spring Maiden that cuts that off. Like, what reason is there for Raven to be alive? She's Crow's sister, okay. But I think the biggest thing Raven being a Maiden does is it cements Yang as the Spring Maiden inheritor.
Yes.
To these powers. Yeah.
Like, if Yang is somehow not the Spring Maiden at some point in the next few seasons, I will be very surprised.
We'd already been speculating that Team RWBY would each be a Maiden.
Like, even more than that, I think we were already speculating that Yang specifically would get Maiden powers first, because it just kind of made sense to me. I mean, at least to me, it makes sense that Yang would get it first, because it feels like she's kind of not complete right now, and it seems like it would be the perfect push to, like, kind of... It feels like a really weird way to, like, mess with her character more, which I think would be interesting to see. But I don't know, but this is a perfect through line to make her a Maiden. And she already has, like, glowy eyes already, kind of. Yeah, like, it burst into flame and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and,
so,
at the end we see Raven with red glowy eyes, kind of similar to Yang's, too.
Yeah, there's also that. Was she a Maiden before she had Yang? Does that affect
possible? I assume Yang would not. The Maiden powers don't come by birth, but it could be related to her semblance. I don't know.
I don't know.
But regardless, we're definitely expecting Yang to get the Spring Maiden powers because that's the most important part of Raven's character. So if Raven's dying, she'll think of Yang. The question is, does that happen now, or are we putting that off for a later part of our 13-season plan?
I think it's higher than 50-50 that it happens this season. It's like maybe like 60-40 that it happens this season. But I wouldn't be surprised if we wait till next season to have Raven die. There's also the possibility that they just troll us and have Raven die and pick somebody else. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see the purpose of that. But
I don't see the purpose of that, but I also don't.
Yeah.
It's always in play.
I think it's basically 50-50 that they do this now. It's just really hard to predict anything on a short-term basis with RWBY when they have a large long-term plan. And I definitely think Yang's going to get these powers eventually, but we could drag this off. We could drag this on, and so I don't know. I think like next episode, Raven could die and get the powers, or 3 years from now, like whatever. Yeah, it's happening at some point though.
Yeah, I mean she's a Maiden; she has to die. That's just what Maidens
definitely
do.
in play. Maidens die. Yep, which is why it's a stupid narrative concept. But this is it's like they took the wrong part of Avatar to influence the show. But but it's happening. Yang's gonna be a Maiden. Could be next week. So Raven's probably at the top of our death watch right now.
She's at the top.
Yeah. Ahead of
I was trying to think
like
of any
Adam, Ilya. Weiss is saved, so we can knock her off. Yeah, Jon. Yeah. Jon, I think enters Death Watch now. I'll table that for a second, but
I disagree on that. But we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's an option at the very least. I want to talk about Grim Arm Cinder because that's the reveal here is that she has this Knuckle V type grim arm.
They brought back the extendo arms. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm so happy the extendo arm is back.
Who you got? Cinder's extendo arm or the Knuckle V's extendo arms?
Oh, this one's actually intimidating. So this one's worse. Like Knuckle V's extendo arms were the silliest thing ever.
Yeah, Knuckle V just put him in a stupid circle. Cinder, in the span of 2 seconds, freezes Raven and kills Vernal. By the way, Vernal, I think is her canon name at this point. Both characters call her Vernal. That was pretty scary. How did she freeze Raven? Like dust?
I think that Cinder's maiden power is over the elements, but I thought it was only fire, but I guess it isn't.
She can maybe too?
Maybe she has control over heat. Maybe that's it. Like she can make things hot and cold, and we just haven't seen her do the cold part of it yet.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I like that. But yeah, Cinder's Grim Arm.
Yes.
Hype.
That was actually I saw Raven get frozen, and then Vernal was like getting hurt, and I'm like, oh, what did she do? And then I saw the arm, and I'm like, Cinder immediately jumped up, and I'm like, this is the best villain they've had so far. I actually feel scared of Cinder now. Like, I wasn't really scared of Cinder until this moment. She just seemed kind of like just kind of like a stoic person, I guess. But now she's like actually killing people in a way that doesn't feel like Adam just killing Sienna, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is putting Cinder back as a legitimate threat. I have some grievances about Cinder, but so this happens with presumably Salem used this to heal Cinder after Ruby's Silver Eyes.
That would be the assumption, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the interesting thing about this to me. Other than it being a good trait of Cinder to have, I think this puts Grim reanimation right into play here, which is something that we've been speculating on. I think it's happening, Andy. Grim Pyrrha will happen this season.
Gonna say it.
This is big evidence for if Salem can reanimate Cinder's dead arm into a Grim arm, why can't Salem reanimate Pyrrha into zombie Grim Pyrrha?
Why not? I don't know.
it's definitely in play for the show, right? Like,
we've seen like 2 seconds of this, and we have no idea how it works. And you're just like let's do.
I'm telling you, this is going to be the stinger. I've been saying it the whole time. The last shot of the season is going to be Grim Pyrrha.
Oh my god! Like, I'd be fine with it. I just don't know if they're going to do it.
No, that'd be very exciting. I would be actively happy about it.
No, it would be really cool if Pyrrha was suddenly a villain and she was a zombie. It would actually be pretty cool. But I just don't know if they'll do that. I still think that Tyrion's tail is going to be the stinger. Like, I'm not even joking about that.
Yeah, that we were joking at first, but that's also in play. The last shot of the season being because we just haven't seen Tyrion since they said that line about his tail. So that could be like a comedic last beat.
Yeah, if Tyrion shows up at all in the finale, then it's not the stinger. Like, that just obviously isn't the stinger.
Yeah, it has to be if he doesn't show up ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Grim reanimation. Pyrrha. As Penny, we can't reanimate because she's still alive because she's a robot, and we can bring her back. Fight me.
She's alive.
Penny is in the cloud. Okay, and Pyrrha is going to be Grim reanimated. It's going to be great. Okay, the other big theory thing that happens with this Cinder moment, Cinder is trying to take Vernal. I'm blanking on her name because I've already forgotten her because she's an inconsequential character now.
Yeah.
Vernal's powers. Which we've been under the assumption, at least I have, for several years on this podcast, that Cinder is trying to be the Avatar. She's trying to accumulate all of the Maiden powers. This is not something the show has explicitly said, but in this episode, Cinder is trying to take a second Maiden power. So Cinder Avatar theory confirmed.
Yes, this episode actually confirms a lot of really long-term theories, I guess, because I guess you're right.
I'm telling you, Andy, the last 5 minutes of this episode are actually good.
I guess the problem is there's a lot of things in the show, and we've talked about it before, that we just assume are true and we've never been told. And I guess that's just another one of those things that I assumed was true, but they never told us.
I've gotten some pushback on this theory, but for the most part, people are like, yeah, this probably will happen. And yeah, so what are the consequences of Cinder wanting all of the powers? Do you think it's of her volition, or is this Salem's idea?
I think this is Cinder's idea, and this actually makes me a lot more on board with Steve's theory that Salem's going to try to take Cinder's body.
So we have the Steve addendum to the Avatar Cinder theory, which is that Salem will betray Cinder, and since she's an eternal, immortal, evil demon, she will inhabit Cinder's body. But wouldn't it have to be Salem's orders for Cinder to try to get all of the Maiden powers if she then wants to take over her body? Or maybe she realizes Cinder's doing this and is just going to capitalize on it.
I think it's more the second thing. I think Salem knows that Cinder wants this power. Because Cinder's main thing so far, her character motivation seemed to be she wants control, and because she has lost control at some point in her life, and she wants control of stuff. And how does she get control? By just getting all the Maiden powers. And I don't know if that's compelling, but it definitely seems like that's something she's doing.
Yeah, that's kind of her arc. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm interested to see how this works. I think this means that we're not gonna get a second Maiden power this season, because there's no way she gets
the easy way to have Yang be the Spring Maiden. Oh, okay. I just saw the contradiction in what I was saying. So I do think Cinder could kill Raven next episode, but Yang would be the beneficiary. Yeah.
Yes, I think what could happen is right before If it looks like Raven's going to die, right before Cinder makes the killing blow, Raven somehow finds a way to kill herself first or something.
Yeah, to try to give it to Yang, yeah.
Yeah, like that's the way I see it going if Raven ever gives her power to Yang.
Yeah, or they just join the bigger battle and she dies incidentally or something, yeah. So
yeah.
I guess if we all think if Yang is getting the powers, that means Cinder isn't. Okay, but we'll see who Cinder's next two victims are after this.
Yeah,
season.
no, I definitely think the third Maiden we see that Cinder will get that power, whichever one she gets.
I've already seen some speculation. Is Weiss's mom one of the maidens? People are already trying to identify the third maiden here.
So if Weiss's mom was a maiden, that definitely means Winter is a maiden now.
Also, Winter's a maiden. That's definitely been a thing. Yeah, no, Weiss's mom's alive, right? I think.
Is it? I thought she was dead.
I don't know. I have no idea. To be honest, I blocked out all of this Atlas stuff.
Also, Summer was a maiden.
Yeah, people think Summer's a maiden. Yeah. Also, Summer's Way, but we'll get into that later. But it's true. And Grimpira is actually happening now. So Cinder, I'm skeptical that Cinder has autonomy outside of Salem. I just the past 2 seasons have been exclusively to show Cinder acting under Salem. I don't know. The show hasn't given me any reason to think Cinder operates on her own.
I think Cinder thinks she's acting on her own, but Salem,
maybe Salem's subtly influencing her. Yeah. We could do that. Okay. Here's my Okay, so I've been a big Cinder fan for a while. I really like Cinder during the first 2 seasons, like most parts of the show. Even the 3rd season, I really like Cinder. But I think at this point, I might be hopping off the Cinder train, Andy, because every time she talks, she sounds the same. She says, "Heh heh heh. Maybe you thought you could do this, but I'm actually that's the only way Cinder's able to talk now."
Yeah,
and I'm really annoyed by it. Can she do something else?
I don't think so. I finally that's a fair complaint, I think, because she is very intimidating as a fighter now. I'm actually scared of her as a villain. But her character is just gone now.
She's really annoying. Oh my goodness.
And that's contrast by the fact that I really want to see more Emerald, because she's actually showed little reactions here and there to the fight that's been going on that I'm really interested by, but the show seems to not care about it.
Yeah, I've gone from liking all 3 of them in Cinder's team to basically just caring about Emerald at this point.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, Mercury hasn't really done anything either exciting.
Yeah.
He clones in this episode. We'll talk about that anyway. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Extendo Arm Cinder will mean good things for her character, but it has not been great so far. Extendo Arm's been fine, but her character hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other things from those last? I mean, I guess seeing the vault was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They had some cool visuals with it, the petals falling and the lights light up when they walk through the thing. The door, all of it looks pretty cool.
I think this means that all the vaults are going to be trees then, right? In different seasons.
Was there a tree? Was there a tree in Beacon? I don't even remember.
We didn't see the vault in Beacon, did we?
No. Cinder references it in the episode,
but she didn't go to it though. She couldn't open it.
But we don't open this one either, right? I guess they go inside of the thing, but don't. What's the actual vault? Is it the vault? Is it the statue, or is it
the vault? Is the tree? There's a door into the tree, and the tree is a
right. So
tree.
We don't open the vault in this episode either.
But I'm saying that the vault itself, the physical vault, will all be trees because this tree is a tree in the season of fall. It has leaves that are gold.
The season's theme. Yeah. Okay. I like the visuals here. Yeah. I think the end of this episode's great.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the visuals. Also, they finally found a way to do a talking head scene where it made sense because they were all stuck in an elevator together, and I wasn't mad that they were just talking.
It was much better than the rest of the episode's talking scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think this episode built up well on all of the betrayal stuff. We learned that Raven planned to betray Cinder, and then it turns out Cinder thought ahead and is going to betray them, but then it didn't matter because Raven was the maiden. I thought all that was great.
I think I was a little upset in the moment that Yang didn't catch them because I was really looking forward to Yang doing something, but
they didn't do anything with that. Yeah,
it would have been. I kind of really wanted a Yang Raven fight, and it looks like we're never going to get one now because now that Raven's a maiden, she won't fight. She won't fail against fighting Team RWBY now because she can't.
Yeah, I guess Raven's purely on our side now since Cinder betrayed them.
She won't help them, but she's a maiden now, so she can't just the way the plot forces things to happen. She can't be fought by Yang individually, I don't think, anymore.
Yeah,
and
we're not getting that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Yang could beat Raven now, anyways.
I mean, all of Team RWBY seems to suck, so...
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about
why
that.
Do they suck?
Let's talk about the rest of the episode, which is less exciting. But the first thing is Jon Heals Weiss. This is presumably his semblance, but it is not said in the episode. Weiss seems the only reason we know this is because I guess the wound closes up, and also Ren's like initially is like, it doesn't look good, and then there's like she's stabilized or whatever. Like okay, so Weiss is fine.
No, you missed the best part though, because Jon first asks Ren, talk to me, before Ren says it looks bad.
Yeah, there's two really terrible lines of dialogue in this episode. That's one of them, and I think the other is RWBY saying no, I'm angry, and then cut away. Like, what? Okay.
RWBY, you're like, it's crazy because RWBY's inflections haven't changed once this season, I don't think. And it's like, are you angry, RWBY? Are you sure?
RWBY's kind of always generically angry, that's true. So what do you think of, basically this is what we thought was going to happen. Jon Heals Weiss. How do you think it was executed in the episode?
I like the way it executed in this episode a lot more than last episode, because it seemed to be from the perspective of RWBY, not Jon. At least once we got past him actually running over to her. But I still hate how this was set up. There was no...
Yeah, look, it sucked last week, but this episode makes me bullish that we will not go down the route of Weiss wakes up, my hero to Jon, and then they kiss or something. Like that didn't seem like where this episode was leading us. No,
it definitely felt like this was RWBY in trying to gain control of the situation, and Jon just happened to gain an ability, and RWBY was kind of using it. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like it was from Jon's perspective once we got RWBY into the
mix.
Like
last episode was clearly from Jon's perspective. It was built up to him gaining a semblance. He does here. I still really hate the plot device of Weiss's life being in danger for Jon's semblance to activate. But if we're not doing anything else with Jon after that, then it's not the worst thing ever. If that's the end of the Jon arc for the season, then we're probably fine.
I'm actually fine if Jon is just relegated to White Mage for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Like, I would hate if this power has some kind of like combat relevance or whatever, because I want him to just sit back and heal people and never.
I like the gender subversion of Jon being the healer. Yeah,
I like that, because he isn't good at fighting. That's been something they've been telling us for seasons, and I'm okay if he isn't good at fighting. I actually like that. But I'm really worried, because you just talked about gender subversion. I'm really worried they're going to make a joke about him having sisters, and this is why he has this power.
Yeah, well, they've done that before, and it's not been good. But
I mean, they could do it again.
When are we going to meet Jon's sisters? That's the real question.
Where that's in the next.
Is one of Jon's million sisters a maiden? That's our new default question. Is this person a maiden?
And when the sister dies, does Jon become a maiden?
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm fully expect. By the way, they're 100% doing the male maiden thing, and it's probably going to be Jon. Okay, anyway. So this was fine. It was just really boring, to be honest, seeing Jon's healing powers activate. That was the most striking thing. It was like, this is what we built up to? Like, it wasn't, like, visually interesting. It wasn't, there's no big moment in the episode. It's like, really? This is it?
Like, I wasn't even, like, I was fine with how it was visually portrayed, but nobody reacted to it. Yeah. Everyone acted like he's always been able to do this, and it's just like, Jon just activated his semblance, guys. Like, I can't believe I was going like, can we put more fanfare here? No. Like, I've never felt that way about Jon, but I actually felt it. Like, or if we're gonna do this, at least do it right. And they did it.
Yeah, it didn't seem to matter. So I guess last episode was the big thing, but yeah,
I guess.
Whatever. So there you go, Jon heals. Hooray. Okay, here's the question: Is Jon just able to unequivocally heal, superpowers, heal anyone, bring to death, he's super powerful, or is there a consequence to his healing powers? Does him giving like life to Weiss drain his own life force, drain someone else's life force? Is there a twist to this?
I think if there's a twist, they'll go with something happening to the person he's healing, not to Jon, because they don't want to hurt Jon. But I think that the most likely thing to happen here is that Weiss is more cold when she wakes up, which I don't want to happen, but that seems like the most likely
pass. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want that.
Yeah, so it could happen to the person they're healing. That's why Jon is kind of on death watch, is because he could drain his own life force to give to Weiss. I will say, if Miles and Carrie for some reason said, okay, we screwed up, Jon sucks, we have to kill him this season, let's do it in the best way possible, then going through this whole arc of giving Jon his semblance and then having it backfire and then having die, that would probably be the way they would do it.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's definitely not happening, but if it were to happen, this would be how it would happen.
I think, though, that it is possible that he does do that at some point in the future season, because it seems like Jon is the most likely person to do that, to sacrifice himself for somebody.
Later too, yeah. So Jon's probably not dying, but that's in play. The best part of the episode was 5 seconds. RWBY says Weiss and runs over to her, and I was like, wow, my life is complete.
Yeah,
that was it though, dude. There was no follow up, but I was at least glad I got that moment.
It was followed almost immediately by Yang looking at Weiss, and then people telling Yang, "No, we got this," and then that went nowhere either.
Yeah, there's a lot of a character standing around and looking at a situation unfolding, and all of this episode and last episode really not fulfilling to me in terms of how you'd logically expect a situation with a lot of different people fighting a lot of different people and a lot of things happening in a giant room unfolding.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
None of it really made sense. Yeah.
I think they needed to make this room bigger or not do this fight inside. Because with how small this room is, it doesn't make sense that people aren't interacting with each other. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's a slight thing last episode with one character affecting another during the fight. But basically, if you think about it, everyone just kind of has to be standing around staring at each other for a large part of this episode.
Yeah.
At the end, they cut to everyone and everyone's fighting when RWBY's looking around. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. None of that's really worked for me. But yeah, okay. So RWBY gets 2 minutes in this episode. She runs over to Weiss, and she starts ordering everyone around, and she says, "No, I'm angry." So there you go.
she's the Hulk now, obviously.
No, we had a real Hulk in this episode. We haven't talked about him yet.
No, he was more Bane.
No, he's more Hulk.
Okay. I still can we talk about him, because I have something.
No, what do you think of RWBY's moment?
Oh, I thought I liked before she said I'm angry. I liked how she was ordering people around and they were just listening to her. There was no questioning. They were like, "RWBY's here."
Wait, RWBY's the leader of Team RWBY? Yeah. What? When does this happen?
I know, and it was just but she was ordering people around. They were listening. They were doing stuff with her, and Yang was like, "Yeah, RWBY's back." It felt like next episode's going to be a return to RWBY being in combat, but at the same time, it's like, why couldn't we do this sooner? RWBY was always in charge, but I guess we're waiting until now to do this.
Yeah. This was a requisite RWBY moment, but why doesn't the show have a lot of these? Because it's her show, but no. Yeah. So whatever, at least we got that. So we've gone over half an hour. We're talking about Hazel, potentially the character that gets the most screen time this episode. Hazel, Hulk Hazel, Bane Hazel. So he turns into Dust Hazel with electricity dust. That's what the end of the episode calls him, Dust Hazel.
Oh, it does? It actually has
in the credits. That's the concept art, Dust Hazel. What did you think of Dust Hazel?
I think this is one of the few things they've introduced, a mechanic that I think is actually interesting, because he just shoved dust into his body and he got overpowered. He just overcharged himself with it. Usually when I watch the show, I'm not excited about the new mythology stuff, but this is using something we already know about dust to do something new. And that's how I like that kind of progression with world building. That's an interesting thing to do there. And I like that we're like, where's his weapon? What's his weapon? It's he is his weapon. I liked it. It was really cool to see. With that said, I don't get his motivation, because his motivation is just stupid.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But the dust thing itself was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Electricity, that was cool. The big problem, and I don't even think it's the motivation thing, which I also have problems with, but the big problem is that I don't care about Hazel.
No.
And Hazel is on screen for a lot of this episode. This is the big problem with the episode itself. It's oh, Dylan, you love the ending. This must be a good episode. And maybe it's a good episode. It's not a great episode, though, because I really just don't care about most of the people that are on screen for most of this episode.
Yeah.
I don't care about Hazel. I don't care about Jon. I don't care about, like even like Mercury and, the Ozpin and Lionheart. This episode's not dominated by Team RWBY once again, and those are the actual characters. That's the biggest problem here, and is Weiss. Weiss, this huge moment happens last episode. One of the main characters, the number one character the audience cares about. And I've kind of tabled this complaint until now just to try to be nice to the listeners. But this is really the reason why this episode, the episode's fine. This is why the show sucks. Look,
like, why can't
YouTube people, this is why the show sucks. Weiss, the number one character we care about, is on the brink of death last episode. And this episode does not care about that.
It doesn't.
There's so many things happening, and Weiss is just laying there, and there's no urgency about, there's like people run over, there's this dramatic moment in the beginning, but it's not even remotely the most important thing. I mean, it happens in the context of Hazel, a character who we met for 5 seconds, doing something and fighting this Ozpin, this ridiculous Ozpin Oscar concept. The episode does not care about Weiss almost dying, and that was the biggest thing that's happened this entire season, and it doesn't matter. Like, what is the show doing?
And it's like, we don't even focus on Team RWBY while it's happening. Like, Yang and RWBY
we
should
built
have
up
reacted
Yang and Weiss's relationship this whole season,
Yeah.
and Yang doesn't react to this at all.
Like,
What?
this is like, Yang just saw Blake get stabbed again, and Yang does nothing, essentially.
We get one shot. RWBY is conveniently passed out when this happens, so she doesn't. And then she reacts. She says Weiss, and then runs over. But her best friend in the whole world is dying, and she just has that small reaction. Yang doesn't say anything. Blake isn't even there for it to happen. Oh my goodness!
This is when Blake should show up. When there's emotional turmoil, you should add more characters to it that we care about. And instead, we're just like, let's just ignore it. And so now Blake isn't showing up. I don't even know if she's showing up next episode anymore. Like, I don't think this show even cares about Team RWBY anymore.
This is this is exhibit A for why the show doesn't care about Team RWBY. Like, the show did not recognize that moment of significance last episode. It just treated it as one of its normal stupid cliffhangers. This is so important. Weiss is so important to us. The show didn't even know.
You could even do the same things, like plot-wise in this episode. Like, Yang could still be stopped from reaching Raven, and RWBY could order people around. But it could be shown a little more anger, a little more caring that Weiss was hurt.
It just has to be through the lens of them reacting to Weiss. That's the most important thing. I don't care about Raven being the Maiden compared to Weiss almost dying. That's so irrelevant.
It's just frustrating. It's super frustrating. At least, like, consolation prize, Weiss isn't dead, but nobody cares.
It turned out that Weiss's almost death was just another one of the stupid cliffhangers, and that's one of the biggest problems with the season, is almost every episode has had a dumb cliffhanger. This is in a season where Miles and Carrie have listened to a lot of the problems that the show has had and genuinely fixed some things. Here's the number one thing going in next season. You need to understand that Team RWBY is more important than anyone else on the show to most of the audience, and that the focus needs to be there. And it's not just the audience; it's the show. Like, that's what the show is based around. It's not me. I'm not the one rationally attached to Team RWBY. This is what the show's about. That's what seasons 1 and 2 are about. Season 3 as well.
You named the show RWBY. Clearly, they have plot significance. RWBY has Deus Ex Machina eyes. Clearly, at least one of them is going to be a Maiden at some point. Like, you have plot laid out for them. Let them be the main characters instead of just not doing anything.
We've set up. We solved the fact that Team RWBY reunited. We solved them interacting with each other. That happened, but there's just not an importance there. Like, the show doesn't. The season doesn't care about them.
Yeah. The only time it feels like the season even close to cares about them is during the Blake stuff, but that's also the weakest part of the plot the show's ever done. The menagerie stuff. So it's hard to care about it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's your rant for the episode. Are you happy? Comment if you like the rant. Press 1 for I like the rant. Press 2 for I didn't like the rant. Okay.
Discord will like the rant. YouTube will hate the rant.
Yeah. YouTube's pretty split. We get a pretty even 50-50 thumbs up, thumbs down. So, thumbs up, thumbs up for the whole podcast, but, comment if you like that. Okay. What were we talking about before this?
Hazel.
Oh yeah. Hazel's motivations are stupid. So it's like Hazel hates Ozpin. Great. Tell us what the bad thing Osmond did. We're dying to know. What bad? Turns out Hazel's sister Gretchen Wieners went to Beacon and she died, and that was it.
And it's like, how many people have done that? You're not unique there, Hazel. Like, and it sounds like she chose to do it herself. Like, I don't know why he's mad at Osmond about this. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think the show is good at identifying that people get angry over irrational things.
Yes.
So I buy that, and the show's done that several times. Not everyone's motivations are rational. So
no.
Clearly we know that. The problem is, as an audience, we have to have some sort of reason for why characters are behaving the way they are. And I don't see that for Hazel here.
Like, I think the bigger thing is that, again, I think this scene is painting Ozpin as evil, or trying to make us think that he's great.
I don't actually agree with you. I don't know that the perspective of the show and the writers is that we want the audience to think Ozpin is evil. I think it's like, why does the villainous side hate Ozpin? Justify yourselves. And that's what I think Miles is trying to do here.
I mean, I like that. I like if they justified. I just have, like, I can buy Hazel's. I think Hazel's a little weak, but it's not like Raven weak. It's like,
yeah, this is better than Raven. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's more just like, I thought there was just more to Hazel than this. But I mean, I'm fine with him wanting to avenge a loved one. That's better than other backstories we've had. But he does have this point in the episode where he turns to Oscar and he's like, ask Ozpin what he did. And it's like, it makes it seem like there's something dark lurking there. But it just isn't that dark. It's just, somebody came into my school and they died. Like, it was just another person that came to the school and died. Like, people do that all the time, I'm sure. Because a lot of people aren't made to be, like, to be that.
I mean, we really haven't seen it happening, but presumably if they're fighting Deadly Grim, that people are going to die. Yeah.
I mean, Summer died during it, didn't she? Like, that's the implication, at least.
Question mark, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's unfulfilling, and whatever. It's not that big of a deal. The thing I just ranted about before is a much bigger deal. But
yeah.
So I don't know. So coming into this episode, Hazel was my favorite of the new villains. And coming out, I guess I don't care, because I feel like we finally paid him off and he didn't really do anything. Like, his fighting was cool.
I think they paid him off way too soon. I thought this was going to be a slow burn to find out Hazel's motivations, and it just kind of came all of a sudden, which is cool. It was cool to see him yelling, like, hear that, like it was kind of primal, the roar he had at Ozpin, and then it just didn't really pay off. And I kind of would have liked if he was just mad at Ozpin this episode and we never really found out what he did. I think that would have been more exciting and more suspenseful if we didn't know why Hazel wanted to kill Ozpin so bad.
Yeah, I actually think it'd be fine if we had Raven hates Ozpin and we don't know why, Hazel hates Ozpin and we don't know why, and we theorize that, oh wow, Ozpin did something terrible. I think that would actually be a lot better than we get reasons and they're actually nothing.
Yeah, like. And by the time we actually get to the time to reveal it, it would have build up. It would have time to stew inside us, and then we could see that they're just kind of irrational. They're kind of just mad about things that happened in their childhood, and that's okay. But with the way they did it now, it just came out of nowhere, and I don't care. With both of these, Raven and Hazel.
Yeah. So whatever. Them fighting. Whatever.
Oh, also, he's using lightning powers, and somehow Nora's not getting involved. Like, Nora.
Yeah, that's true. That's Nora's thing. Come on.
Nora, like, your literal power is absorbing lightning. Can't you just, like, lend a hand for once? Like, just once.
Yeah, good point here. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just mad because they sent Ren at Hazel and not Nora.
Yeah, they did do that. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Only two other things: Yang fighting Mercury and Emerald. Sure, whatever. I like when RWBY joined her, but that's it.
But no, when RWBY joins her, Emerald has this like really like scared reaction. I really think Emerald doesn't want to hurt RWBY, and it keeps showing these little reactions. But the show doesn't want to focus.
Isn't it probably that she's scared of RWBY because her bae Cinder got hurt by RWBY?
I'm fine with either way, but this is just another reason why they're not. This is another example of how they're not focusing on RWBY. I care so much more about the Emerald RWBY relationship than any of the relationships we showed this episode. Like, yeah, I want to see that.
That was interesting last episode with them fighting. Yeah, I think they'd be best friends.
I mean, yes, they would.
Emerald join Team RWBY win.
Like, never, but please.
Yeah, Emerald and Mercury are really pointless right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing. Last thing, Crow takes a big hit at the end of the episode from Hazel, and we do not see the result.
I think it's not going to matter, but I kind of would be happily surprised if there were actually some consequences.
He kind of just gets punched, so really they could just not pay this off and it would be fine. But it also could be that we're back on Crow Death Watch, which we've been on for the past 3 years.
It was a really
It was emphasized a lot in the episode. Yeah,
I'm trying to look for the word, but it didn't slow. There wasn't slowdown, but there was maybe it was 90% speed, not 100% speed, and it felt like a powerful hit to his back, and that feels like something's going to happen with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens because people get punched all the time in these kind of shows and nothing happens.
Yeah, we notably did not see the result, which makes you think, oh wow, is it bad? And we'll find out next episode. But also sometimes the show includes things in an episode that have no business being in said episode and will not have relevance until next week. So, yeah. Okay, so I got nothing else. Anything else from the episode, Andrew?
The fights themselves weren't that exciting to me. Like, I didn't care about Ozpin fighting Hazel, even though Hazel was cool. I will say I don't get how Ozpin has just infinite energy when he's running around as Oscar.
Yeah, why is Ozpin so much better as Oscar than Oscar is at Oscar?
I don't know, because it feels like Ozpin should be getting tired a lot quicker as this little boy. It feels like he should be, but he's not. But he's doing flips and stuff.
Yeah. I thought Ozpin was channeling Raphael from Soul Calibur 2 when he was using his staff against him. That's my reaction to the fight. He's
channeling it obviously this is a fantasy show and there's no being tired is just a plot device, but I feel like he should be getting tired. I would feel really unrewarded if Ozpin wins this fight with Hazel, is what I'm saying. I don't feel like he should be able to.
I just don't care.
So, I mean, I don't care either, but it'd be kind of dumb.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts, Andy.
I wish Blake was back already, and she's not.
Yeah. That's next week. Is this our finale episode? I speculated last week that we were splitting up our season finale into finale and epilogue, an epilogue afterwards. So we usually get a 5 to 10 minute epilogue sequence at the end of every season. So if they could just spin that off into its own episode, we are getting 2 more episodes this season than normal.
I think there's a possibility that this season ends on a cliffhanger in total. We end in the middle of this.
That would be very representative of the season as a whole.
It would be, but I think it's very likely that we end without finishing the fight with the White Fang. We finish fighting Cinder and stuff, but Haven still is going to fall. We don't do the White Fang fight at all this season.
I think we're fighting Adam next episode to some extent.
I hope so. But I also would not here's what I would hate. We do the Adam fight, and Blake, Ilya, and Sun are just next door to Team RWBY, but Blake never goes over and says hi to them this season.
Right. Yeah. So let's write the last 2 episodes in a minute.
Let's do it.
So next episode, they're fighting Adam. Blake shows up. I don't know. Adam dies or something. Blake's helping them. I don't really care, to be honest. And then the epilogue though is the Bumblebee reunion after the fight. Blake and Yang run over each other and they kiss and it's great and we see how Ilya reacts to this. Blake kissing another girl and Ilya is with some is introduced to Weiss or something, and then we see how Weiss is reacting as well. Just the Bumblebee reunion in the epilogue. I think that's the best case scenario at this point.
Are you really off the Freezerbird trade already, Dylan? Is this really what you're doing?
No, well, we need jealous Weiss as well. No,
Freezerbird's happening. I can't believe you, Dylan. We just had this conversation 2 episodes ago that Freezerbird was going to
Yang did not react to Weiss dying at all.
Okay,
I think we're done with it. I think the show's off it.
Okay, I will give you that she did not have a reasonable human reaction. I'm not saying
this is what I'm saying I'm trying to realistically write the last 2 episodes.
You think Bumblebee's realistic now? That's really optimistic.
I do think that we might. I don't think we're gonna get a kiss, but I do think we're gonna get a Bumblebee hug in the last.
We need a hug, okay? If we don't have full Team RWBY hug this season, I might die.
Also, all of them hugging, yeah.
Yeah,
okay, we'll see. That was better in my head. I actually have no specifics for the fighting. I don't really care, to be honest.
I think I care a little more about the fighting than you do because I want the fighting to be cool looking. But I mean, I also don't care. I want Team RWBY together more than I want any cool fights, to be honest.
I guess it's the big thing is like is their attack, the White Fang attack, going to be successful? Like, but I don't care. So
I don't even care. We haven't seen enough of Haven. Like,
yeah, I don't really care if Haven's controlled by good or bad guys. Whatever.
Yeah, like I feel like these episodes where we had like Team RWBY talking together this season, they could have been better if they were walking around Haven while talking, while reminiscing together, like exploring this place that was supposed to be in danger. But instead, we just ignored it and we stayed inside this one house.
Yeah, we just stayed in one house. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we'll see what happens next week. I assume it's next week. I haven't heard otherwise on potentially either part 1 of our finale or the finale, or is this part 2? Is this part 3 or part 2 of the finale? I don't know. So it depends whether you count that stuff that we just saw as finale episodes, but we will see. And what's Adam going to do? How much is Adam going to suck? How much will we hate what Adam does?
Who will Adam kill randomly? That's the real question. Which character will die?
Yeah. I think we'll probably not get another major death this season.
What if Adam just kills Raven randomly? Like, is that something that could happen?
Sure, why not? Who cares? I don't know.
Like, I think that's actually something they could do. Just kill Raven randomly with Adam.
If it gets Yang the powers, then they could do that. Okay, so let us know what you think's going to happen on that. Let us know our thoughts on the episode. Comment on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and post 1 or 2 for your thoughts on the rant. All of that. Subscribe on YouTube to not miss any of it. But big reaction last week on YouTube to our RWBY podcast. 2,000 views. Thank you very much, guys, for watching us on YouTube. We also are on iTunes and stuff like that. You can also subscribe there or check us out at overlyanimated.com. We just had a Steven Universe podcast. Steven Universe was new. I do think there's a lot of SU RWBY viewer crossover. So check out our thoughts on these stranded episodes from last night. And talk to us on Discord. The Discord channel, RWBY channel, was really hopping today after the episode for our Overly Animated Discord. Find that at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You'll get a redirect link there to our Discord invite. And consider supporting us via Patreon, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Rachel, aka Rachel Rose. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Andy, and Hugh. Wow, at least RWBY did something on the Rachel Rose patron of the podcast. At least kind of something happened with RWBY. Upcoming stuff. We'll be back for RWBY next week. Not a ton happening, to be honest, animation-wise. We'll see if Ladybug's new. Mysticons will be back finally next weekend. And Steven Universe, of course, was new last night. And we'll probably get a listener feedback up as well. So get your feedback in for the SU podcast if you have not yet. So, let us know what you thought. Thank you guys very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.